Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So Let's Resin sent me some more goodies and we are going to take a look at them today and do some playing with them. So first they sent me the large and small skulls, and then they sent me some of their holographic glitter to try out. Now I've never used it like this before where you like actually apply it to the mold, so super curious to try it out, and we are going to be using the black one today. Now this is part of my video for the collab with Mini Scenes GB. The video is going to be like, it's a lot, guys. It's a lot. And I needed to shorten it and cut some parts out because otherwise it's going to be super crazy long. Because it's a very detailed and very involved project, but it's turning out amazing. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait. All right, so the first thing is, for this skull, I want the eyes red. For this big one, anyway. So I'm just going through with my Rolio Scarlet Mica Powder, covering the eyes in red. Now, I know I'm going to be using black resin. I know that it's not going to come out like a pronounced red. That's fine. I just want it to kind of have some of the color, if that makes sense. After I clean up all the mica powder from where it doesn't belong, then we're going to go in with the black holographic glitter from Let's Resin, and we're going to dust this mold and 3 of the small skull molds with it. Now, where this project, once I do this, like, it could be a completed project. Understand that there is, like, this is just kind of the basics for it. It's going to be way more involved, but that will be in my collab video. So if you want to see what it is that I will be doing with these guys, you'll have to wait until June 7th to find out. I mean, it's only a week away, but still, it's a week away. And I've got a lot of work to do. So I am just going through and thoroughly dusting this with the black holographic glitter. And like I said, I'm going to go over the 3 smaller molds as well. And then I'm going to mix up my resin. Now, because of the depth of the skull mold, and because I, in my brain, didn't want to wait 2 days for it to dry, because technically speaking, with the depth and just the openness of it, you should use a deep pour resin. Now, have I pushed your normal epoxy resin? And then yes, but you really shouldn't, and I didn't want to wait the 2 days, so we're gonna start it with a fast cure resin, and I'm just using Let's Resin's 4-hour demold for this, using Rolio's deep black pigment paste, and we're gonna mix it up. Now I am, I've used the Let's Resin 4-hour cure mold. Like, I've used it, or 4-hour demold. I've used it quite a bit here recently, but I've not really pushed it into something deep. So I thought, okay, I'll go with this amount. And then I added some more. And then I started kind of second guessing myself. So I ended up taking some out and just filling 2 of the smaller ones with it, because I didn't, I don't want it to, I just don't want any issues, I don't want it to go up in flames or anything crazy and have it do that kind of stuff to me. So, yeah, I am giving the skull molds kind of like a squish and a squeeze and all that fun stuff, just in case there's any air bubbles trapped around like the facial details of it, that it'll push them up. Now, I've had skull molds before. In fact, they may have been the Let's Resin ones. I really don't know, but I used them a lot, and they kind of died on me. And I've never had any real issues with these molds. They're fantastic molds. They really are. And we're going to kind of let this do its thing. I'm actually going to end up doing the big skull in 3 pours, because that's just how it works out for me. I could have done it in a second pour and been done with it, but I didn't mix up enough resin, and I honestly couldn't be bothered to doing it again and mixing it up, so I didn't. So for this one, I am using the normal Let's Resin epoxy now, and again, I probably could have filled it up the rest of the way. I didn't. So what I could have done, this is what kind of gets me. I used the fast resin to begin with for time purposes, right? Because I've got a lot of stuff to do on this project, and it's taking like days and days. Like, I've been working on it for a good week and a half already, and I'm not done with it yet. And I started with the fast resin, or the fast cure resin, so that I could get done faster, and then it didn't happen, and I didn't make that second pour the same day like I was supposed to, so it ended up taking me 2 days anyway before I could demold the damn thing, because I didn't do it the way I should have. And again, going in with the Let's Resin epoxy resin for the final bit of this mold, and then we can finally demold this and move on to the next steps for these skulls. And I mean, you guys seen it. I did the same thing over and over again 3 times. I did go in there just to make sure there's no bubbles trapped along the outside rim of the big part of the head. And we're going to hit it with the heat gun, let it cure, and then we're going to start demolding these guys. Now, obviously, because I used the fast cure, these were done in 2 hours, unlike my big skull mold that was not. It's fine. It'll be fine. And we're just going to pop these babies out. Now, there's nothing like super crazy special about them at this point. The holographicness, which you can't really see right now because of the way the lighting and stuff is super cool. Like, I love how you can kind of get, like, you kind of get this rainbow effect in a circle around the head. It's pretty neat. I like it. But it's going to add to the texture of not just these, because you could, I mean, I could be done with these today, right now, and they would be fine. They are technically in a finished state, just not finished for what I'm going to utilize them for. All right, so we got the little guys out. Now it's time to get this big guy out and get some details on this thing and make it super cool. All right, so it's really simple to demold. Now, I like in these molds, and yes, I know you shouldn't spray alcohol in them, but for these molds in particular, a quick spray of alcohol in there, and then you just kind of squish it all around, and this baby pops out super easy. Like, there's no real fighting with it at all. I'm just moving that alcohol around, especially all the facial parts, like all the facial features in the skull mold, and then he pops out super easy. Like, it's, see, like, really easy. All right, dried him off. Do you see what I'm talking about? How the rainbow kind of effect on his head? Super cool. I am loving it. It already looks dark and kind of just, it's along the lines of what I'm going for. Now, I want these guys to have red eyes. Like, I want them to look like they're glowing red eyes. So I am going to use a little bit of diamond glaze, and I'm going to use red rhinestones. Now, for the little ones, I tried to see if I could fit more than one rhinestone in the eye. I could, but it kind of looked super dumb. So I'm just going to stick one that will fit perfectly all the way back into that little socket area for it. And then that's it for the little ones. Now, the big guy is a whole nother story because you got a lot more space that you can add more in there. So we're going to go crazy with him and kind of get his eyes just like, oh, I want him looking at you, you know, like that's kind of the go-to that I've got for this. Now, hindsight, I would have loved to have been able to put some fairy lights in his eyeballs and make them glow. I don't know how I would have done that with the look that I wanted, but that would have been crazy cool to be able to do. I'll have to try and figure it out one day and see if I can make that happen. But for this, we're just going along and we're going to add him in there. Now, with the big guy, when I was doing his eyes, I used, like, for the main center part of it, I used the biggest rhinestone that I had in here because it's a multi-sized, you get a bunch of different sizes within the same color. And then I went around and used smaller ones just kind of all the way around, top, bottom, sides, everywhere, to kind of like around the center of it to kind of like fill it out and have it come up and out. It was kind of a pain in the butt. I feel like with the diamond glaze in particular, like when, depending on what you're doing, when it's super wet, like when you first put it on there, it just likes to move. Once it starts to kind of get tacky, that's when, in my opinion, it's more ideal to use, because then you can stick them in there and they pretty much don't move too much after that. This part, with it being round, kind of, like this circular thing, and trying to get them to go in there and push them up as close as I could to each other, and then the issue with the sizing, and they just wanted to stick to everything but what they were supposed to stick to. So I did fight with this for a hot minute to get it to go where I wanted it to. Now, after, like I said, after that diamond glaze is out for a little while and it starts to get that tackiness to it, it's a lot easier to work with, and it doesn't want to, like, your rhinestones don't kind of want to float around on it anymore. So it's, anyway, so I am just taking the silicone tool and kind of moving around to make sure that there's glue that's, that glue is going to touch all of the areas that I'm going to do with this rhinestone. Now, that's pretty much it as far as this part of it goes. We're going to go on and add a little bit more detail here after this sets and dries for a little bit. And it's still not going to be quite finished. Like, it could be, like I said at the beginning, it could be, but you know, I got to go all out, but I can't do the rest of it until I have it all put together with the other part of my piece. So there's that. Now, for any of you that are interested in doing the collab with Mini Scenes GB, I do have the information in a video that she posted on what she wants, needs, all that good stuff, what you need to do in order to do that. It is in the community section of my YouTube page that you can go and watch it if you're interested. She's taking the submissions. I think it's between June 5th and 7th for the collab, and the collab's date is for June 7th. Anyway, back to the video. Now, I'm just about done, and here he is. Again, you can't really see it because of the stupid lighting that I have going on, but you'll be able to see it better in the glamour shots. Alright, so now for some more detail. I decided that I want to give them some gold teeth, so that's what we're going to do. Now, I kind of, like, I played around with if I should just make them all gold or just do a couple. Talked to my husband about it, and he said just do a few, so that's what we're gonna do. After, like, actually looking at it, and it's crazy because, like, I'm right up on it here. I could have done a better job with them. I have to go back and fix them later on before I actually attach it to the piece. There's just some areas where I don't know. It could look better. So I'll be fixing that. But honestly, some of it may not show anyway. I'm not 100% sure yet. But, we'll figure that out on June 7th. But yeah, so I just took my Deco Color paint pens and I used the round tip one for most of it. I tried to go in with the stupid fine tip one, but they never work right. All they do is throw out ink, or not ink, but paint where I don't want it to go. So when I need something finer done, I'll just take a popsicle stick and I'll kind of hit my fine tip paint pen on the popsicle stick and have the ink drip out on there, and use a micro brush to kind of go in and fill in any of those small areas that I need for detail like purposes, like especially like in between the teeth and between the bottom of the teeth and like where your gum line would be, like in that area. I'll go back and do it. And then honestly, I'm gonna need something smaller for the teeth on the three little guys. Now with those, because of how small they are, I'm not like super crazy trying to make it perfectly on one tooth. Like, you can't really see. So I'm just gonna I'll go in with my micro brush and just kind of put it over a couple. It's not a huge deal. Like I said, it's you can't really tell where they're at because of how small they are. And then I did take a Q-tip with some alcohol if there was an area where I may have gone too far or whatever, just to clean it up. Now, again, hindsight, I didn't realize that I'd gotten some gold paint around his eye socket until I had gone back and looked at the glamour shots and saw that it's there. So I will have to go back and touch that up, and either it'll probably, I'm gonna have to hide it somehow, because at this point I don't know if the alcohol will be able to get that paint pen off of there, because it does. I mean, maybe, I don't know, I'll have to find out, but I will have to do something about that because that just looks kind of dumb. But I was kind of contemplating anyway on doing a little more something something with his eye socket, so we'll see. But do you see how I'm talking about how I just put a little bit of that paint pen, that paint on to the popsicle stick, and then I just use it from there. Now, you don't have like a super crazy long amount of time to work with it because it does dry fairly quickly on your popsicle stick, but you know, it works if you're moving super fast, I guess. Okay, now, still not done. What I want to do is I want to kind of make a crack look in his skull. For this, for the big guy only, I am going to use some of my diamond glaze. I'm kind of going to outline where I want them to go, and then I'm going to use some obsidian, and I am going to stick them on there. Now, the problem with this is that diamond glaze comes out like water, and it wants to run wherever it wants to run, which is not what I want it to do. So I tried putting on some of the obsidian thinking that it would just stick. I don't know why I thought that, especially after just having fought with the same stuff with the eyeballs. But, you know, some of us are a little hard-headed and we just don't learn. So I tried, and when they kept sliding and moving and whatever, I got the brilliant idea, because as my daughter would say, I'm big-brained, and decided that hitting it with the heat gun for a few seconds is a good idea. Like, it'll help dry that glue faster, but if nothing else, it's gonna get it to that tacky point where I was talking about earlier, and they'll stick better. I don't have to worry about the glue running and all of that nonsense, and I can just stick them on and they're not going to go anywhere. Now, is this something that you would do and just leave it like this? Probably not. Like, if I was to say, okay, this is a finished piece, I would have to do something and glue these on a little bit better. I would think, because I don't think that bond is probably going to be strong enough to hold something this heavy, because these are actual obsidian rocks. So, that being said, with what my plan is for this later on for the collab video, it's not going to matter because I'm going to be doing something else with this particular part where it's going to make it'll adhere. It'll adhere. If it's not completely 100% solid like now, it will be by that point. So as long as I'm not throwing the skull around and playing baseball with it, he should be fine until I'm finished. So for this part, I am just doing it on the big guy, because obviously even the smallest obsidian rocks that I have are too large for the little ones. So we're going to do something else with them just to give them a little bit more detail. And we will do that here in a second. And then I found out that it was a better idea to hit that diamond glaze with the heat gun before even trying to put it on or put your rocks on it. And then they just stick. And it was perfect. It worked out great, especially on the surface that's kind of rounded. So, helpful hint to you guys, if you're doing something like this, hit it real quick with your heat gun. And it doesn't have to be long, just a couple seconds, just to get it to that point, because you don't want it to dry completely, but you do want it to start to dry. All right, so I know it looks weird. Just remember, there's more to this piece. I mean, he kind of looks cool, but it kind of looks weird. All right, on to these little dudes. Now I'm going to take some gilding glue and I'm just going to use a toothpick to put it on their heads. And I'm just going to kind of draw out how I want the crack in their skull to go. And then we're going to hit it with some gold flake after this dries. So it takes, it says anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. I had my air conditioner on it, so it was done in about 10. So I guess if you have something, you can push some airflow, a fan or something like that, you can make this stuff dry a little bit faster. And it's pretty cool because it's kind of got like this bluey type purplish tint to it. And when it is clear, then it's good to go and you can use it. So that's a neat indicator, which is nice. This is the first time I've ever worked with gilding glue, so I'm new to it. All right, so putting this on, we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes until it's dry. And then we are going to take, and I'm just going to use, instead of getting out my big sheets of gold leaf, I'm just going to use those little ones that like everybody and their mother sends you with your resin kits that come in like a little bag or whatever. The flakes that are kind of like crumpled and smushed. I'm just going to use those, put those on with one of my brushes. Now, the one thing that I will say, and I didn't think about this before, even though I clean my brush off with that little makeup brush cleaner, it still has, it's not like clean. Like there's still powder in it. So as I was doing this, and I didn't notice it at first, if I didn't cover all of that gilding glue, I was getting actual like chameleon powder or whatever it was that I was using on it. I was getting on that gilding glue. So there was a couple areas where nothing like the gilding flakes wouldn't stick to it because it was covered with the dust. So make sure that you use a clean brush when you do this. That's not going to put some other kind of contaminant like chameleon powders or the Holo glitter that I used or whatever on it, so that your glue stick or your gold sticks to the glue and not all your dust. So just helpful tip from something that I found out the hard way. Anyway, I'm going to finish this up. That's a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will catch you guys on Saturday in the next one. Remember, stay tuned for June 7th and this collab video. It's going to be super cool. All right, guys. Have a great week. Love ya. Bye.